Who doesn't love a good rejection? Welcome back guys, Ace here, and it is so good to be with you. Yes, the last video I made was a bit of a rainy day emo fest, and that happens from time to time, but as you would have learned in that last video, if you saw it, you need the rainy days to have the sunny days and the enjoyable days, and the last video was certainly depressing, so if you watched it, I do thank you very much. So where are we off to today? We are off to the Gold Coast Surfers Paradise, which, as you all know, is one of my favourite haunts for street photography. Now, if you can believe it, there are some people that say it's not the best place, not busy enough. Certainly sometimes it's busy and sometimes it's quiet, but for me, I think it's one of the most ideal places. There's lots of people generally, tourists and locals alike, some pretty eccentric characters, but not only that, it's the beach. Generally people are a bit more relaxed. There's often a bit of energy during the day and certainly during the night as well if you go into the nightclub area, which I haven't done for quite some time. Now I know the next question that you're thinking, what gear did I take on this little jaunt? Well, yes, you guessed it. I took the X-T1, this bad boy right here, if I can get it right. X-T1. X-T1 with the 35 f2, and I am just loving this combination. I just find it so easy to use and so enjoyable to use. That focal length just hits the sweet spot. I love it. I really love it. I did something a bit crazy this time. I shot in RAW. I don't know why, I didn't need to. There was no real practical reason for me to shoot in RAW, but I certainly did that. So if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know I'm on a bit of a street photography bender. I'm just really into it. I really think that's the direction I want to go in, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the challenge. I'm enjoying meeting new people. It's pushing myself and stretching myself to look at the world in a different way, and I'm enjoying it. I'm probably about this far into a journey of volumes. I know that. I can feel that this is going to be a big journey. So this comes from an absolute place of being a place of absolutely being a novice, and it's an exciting journey so far. So I want to put some things into perspective, especially talking to strangers. I've found the average rejection takes less than about 8 seconds. Where you find someone that you want to shoot. This is my own experience, found someone that I want to shoot, and I approach them and maybe compliment them or ask for their photograph, and they generally politely will say no if it's a rejection. Sometimes people might ask why I want to take their photo, but generally people will just wave me off, and that's happened a few times. In fact, it happened a few times in this particular trip. You'll see a few people wave me off. There's a Asian gentleman at the start who looked kind of cool and waved me off, and then towards the end of the video there was this older Asian lady who was dressed beautifully with this lovely hat, and she waved me off and said no thank you as well. Those interactions took seconds, and they were very, very, very polite and placid, and they probably forgot about me afterwards. I really wanted to put that into perspective, because approaching strangers for photos or taking photos of strangers is something that I know probably most photographers struggle with. It's not in our nature to ask someone for something like a photo, and it can be a really, it's a vulnerable thing and an intimate thing. So think about that, 8 seconds. If you think about rodeo riders, they have to stand for 8 seconds. So if you can stand for 8 seconds, then you've got this street photography thing down packed. So I'd like to go through some of the photos I took and some of the people I spoke to, and the approach I took. So this is more of a self-critique more than anything. But it's also an invitation for you to critique me as well. If you've done street photography before, I want you to roast me. I want you to critique me. I'll critique myself, but if there's things that you notice or tips that you have seen, I really invite you to share those with me. I'm opening myself up to your critique. These two older fellas, they were separate, obviously not at the same time, and they were some of the first guys I photographed on this particular trip, which I didn't take a sick day to do, by the way. Absolutely, it was not work time. I did not take a sick day for this particular adventure. But these old guys were really, really fun. This first one with, he moved up from Victoria. He was just chilled out and had a bit of a chinwag about how nice it is being on the coast. He lives on the coast now. And just took a profile photo of him. He was fine. The next guy was much more interesting. not from a conversational point of view, but just the way he was posing on his bike. One of the rules, so to speak, of portrait photography or people is triangles, getting triangles, and this guy had them in spoons. Is that the right term? You would see the way he's posing. He was real, just nonchalant and cool as a cucumber, and just looking out over the. I don't know what he was looking at. There was no waves to look at, so it was probably bird watching or something like that. That is often undertaken on the Gold Coast. But he photographed really well. I like to get photos of people facing the camera. There are obviously exceptions to that rule all the time, and there was no benefit in that of me asking him to look at me. He didn't want to either. He was happy for me to take his photo so long as he wasn't looking at me or the camera. This lady looked fantastic. She was obviously some kind of Pacific Islander. She had those long, fantastic dreads and those bright pink sunnies. And she was more than happy to have her photo taken. I don't like the photos, although she kind of tries to pose a bit, you know, with a peace sign. I was still nervous. It was nerve-wracking asking her, but you know, she warmed up after a few seconds, and I'm assuming she forgot about me after a few seconds as well. The photo is okay. It's overexposed. It's okay, but it is what it is. This young man was Gabriel, and I saw him wandering around Cavill Avenue with that funny tote bag, and he was approaching people, and that normally means someone's asking for a cigarette or asking for money to get somewhere, Ipswich or Cherbourg or somewhere like that. So naturally I assumed the worst, and I expected him to come up to me, which he did, and said g'day, and I was waiting for, do I have a couple of bucks or a cigarette or something like that. But he was a missionary. He had come over, he was only a young fella, as you can see, and he was there to talk about Jesus and God, and asked if he could pray for me, which I was flattered about. I mean, this kid was, I think he was as shocked that I said yes as I was happy to take his photo. So the deal was he could pray for me and I could take his photo, and all power to him. You know, it takes guts. He's using his annual leave or holidays or whatever to come to Australia. I mean, not that the Gold Coast is probably a bad place to be. I probably think of worse places in Australia to talk about Jesus, but you know, all power to him, and it was really nice. It was nice to, you know, to meet a young guy with that level of passion and enthusiasm. So just asking people, you know, I asked for his photo, and he was happy to oblige. I don't like these photos, again, straight on. I should have posed him, and that's something, that's a recurring theme that will keep on coming through these photos. I didn't get as much video on this trip as I wanted. I must have either forgotten to push the GoPro go button, the record button, whatever it was, I seemed to forget that. But this lady in yellow was just dolled up, and she was just a lovely old thing. She was walking along the beach and was happy to have a chat and happy to have her photo, which was just it was just a portrait. There was nothing fancy. I wish I recorded the interaction. I complimented her, and you know, she said she was dressed up because of the races, which was evident she was from Victoria. She knew all the races, and said she backed a winner in the Melbourne Cup recently, so that was a nice interaction, and nice. I find if you're approachable, if your body language is open, if you're not demanding, people are happy for a chat, and this lady was no exception. These fellas were fantastic. They were right next to my car when I was leaving surfers, and if you just look at them, I mean, they look kind of imposing. They look like Japanese gangsters or punk rockers or something like that, with their tattoos and smoking the cigarettes. And I nearly didn't take these photos. I nearly didn't ask them, but I'm so pleased I did. I took photos of both of the guys, but it was just that second guy with the, you know, with the more visible tattoos I've posted here. They were, and these are probably my favourite street photos I've taken yet. And the reason why I say that is I asked this guy to pose a little bit, and he did, and he looks cool as a cucumber. I mean, I think he just is super cool. And he was happy to pose and happy to smoke a cigarette while I took some photos. And that was a real, ego boost is the wrong term, but a good confidence boost that you can do that. You can ask people, and all they need to say is no. If they're not comfortable, they'll say no, and they will say no, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm so glad I took these photos. This last guy, I've taken a photo. You would have seen a few other photos in between now and those Japanese guys. This last guy was a legend. I mean, the classic Gold Coast surfing looking guy. in this old car that he loved. He told me he had a few old cars. This one was all original. He was happy happy for me to take some photographs. And who doesn't love a classic car on camera, not film, obviously. I got a digital camera today. And he, he posed. I didn't like his poses so much, but he was happy for me to do my thing and happy to talk about his car, and I really enjoyed that. Towards the end of this video, which is coming up soon, and if you got this far, I really appreciate it. I put a few photos of another shoot I did. I didn't do any video of that, but a few other guys and gals that I stopped and asked for their photos that surfaced the same particular spot. And I'm enjoying this evolution. I'm enjoying pushing myself. I'm getting so much fulfillment out of it, and it's a challenge. And my next challenge will be to pose people and to get those compositions better. I think I'm confident enough to ask people for their photos. I just want to take those compositions to the next level, to pose people, to think of strategies and ways that I can move them in a way that they're going to look posed without looking posed. I don't know what my hand was doing. Look posed without looking posed. So that's my next challenge. So if you are a street photographer or someone like that is confident with getting people to pose, let me know. I'm really interested to hear your approach. There are some guys on YouTube that I watch that do that, and they do that really well, and I really admire that. But it's being able to conceptualize in my mind's eye, how am I going to pose them in a way that's edifying and flattering and it's going to make a good photo. So they're my challenges. I know I need to take a few steps back. I think the portraits I've got a bit too close, just headshots, but that's a topic for another video. Well guys, if you've gotten this far, I want to thank you so much. I've loved making this video. I'm loving getting out doing street photography, and I love that you're on this journey with me, if you are in fact on this journey with me. If this is your first time here and you've got here this far, thank you. I thank you for privileging me with your time. You know what to do with the subscribe and the like. That's about it for me. As always, crew, love God, love others, and take time to listen.